Lovely, thank you, and thank you for the presentation. Sorry, I was a little bit late. I had childcare responsibilities. So apologies if this was covered alongside the slides, but I noticed, having looking at the presentation, that abstraction wasn't actually mentioned in there. That is a big concern of mine. I know it's a big concern of the communities. You know, we know that officers are abstracted, you know, the community knows, and also those intent on causing and committing crime know when it happens as well. You know, passing comments are made in the CAFs and things like that around Dagenham East and the Heathway. I also know that that's probably out of your hands in terms of abstractions, and it's probably a higher level decision that's pushed down on you. But what I did want to know was if you can provide any information, any insight into how that is broken down across London, basically. So are the number of abstractions from each borough equal? If they are, then I think it needs a review. If they're not, I think it needs a review. Basically, what I was hoping for today, really, is that you could take away from this meeting and maybe, alongside the council, lobby whoever you need to lobby to essentially say that when officers are needed for abstraction, are needed to police these major events in London, that they're taken from areas with a lower crime rate at that particular time, rather than areas with a consistent level of high crime rate. I think it should be subjective, really. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. So there's a bit there. So I'm going to let Dave talk about what abstraction data looks like. So locally, how many officers get taken away, what that looks like. We both work as public order commanders, so on top of our day jobs, we both work, and Dave's been there today in central London, in charge of all the protest in London, and I do it also as well, and so we're really very closely aligned to how the organisation takes resources, and it is done as fairly as you could possibly do. It's an industrial scale operation to be able to take hundreds of, sometimes thousands, of police officers from 32 London boroughs, bring them into central London and make sure they police extremely difficult, high profile and high risk issues, as you've all seen play out for the last 4 years. You know, the COVID stuff, whether it be football every weekend protest, whether it be some of the Black Lives Matters protest, whether it be the protests that happened at Clapham. These things go on all the time, and the current issue in the Middle East, it is perpetual. The amount of central London protest, and as a police service, we can't expect somebody else to do it for us. Nobody's going to do that policing for London. So the only option is to bring officers in from the 32 boroughs. It is done very fairly. You will have officers from Lambeth, Southwark, Newham, and let's not forget, Barking and Dagenham has a quite particularly low crime rate. So I know everyone says crime is going up and crime is high. If you compare the demographic of Barking and Dagenham, you look at the crime rates and you compare it to the other 32, we're actually fairly well off. And it's remarkably low, the crime rate in Barking and Dagenham, compared to many London boroughs. So it's almost impossible to base that decision on what crime is like right now. But if it was, we'd probably be giving more than many London boroughs. It's done as fairly as it possibly can be, and there's just no way to say. Every other 31 London boroughs and all the people we serve across London will be saying, well, take it from there, and everyone else is saying, take it from there. I can't see a better way of doing it. I really can't. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yep, take your point. The issue with that, when you're saying that we've got a relatively low crime rate, reported crime rate, which I understand are the only figures that you've got to go on, so I completely get that. But you know, I work in the MP's office. We regularly get calls, people, criminal incidents, and they say, and the first thing that we ask is, have you contacted the police? And they say, no. What's the point? Because there's that level of people. You know, I think you are doing a lot. You know, in the wake of the Casey review and what you've said this evening, you are making a lot of progress in building that trust, and you've said that it's been retained quite to a high level in this area. But when you speak to people, there is still that level where people don't feel that they are being heard, don't feel that they are going to get that response. So that's a concern for us, is that whilst you're saying, yep, the reported crime rates are low, Are the actual crime rates low?
So slight side issue, but it's a slight side issue. But reported crime is quite accurate in certain crime types because people have to report certain crime types. So burglary, robbery, serious injury. That's a fairly accurate reporting thing because we find out about most of those crime types. Loads of crime types are underreported. Totally accept that. Loads of crime types and ASB is underreported because people don't have an incentive to report it, and they don't have a lot of confidence that we will catch the perpetrator, or they don't want to get involved in the criminal justice system. But I would suggest that exists across the whole of London, and we've only got reported crime statistics to work on. There is no, I just aren't being really honest to your question. There's no way we can take Central London aid from different communities based on the crime levels. If we did do that, we could only use reported crime levels, and if we did do that, Barking and Dagenham would be worse off than it currently is because we are much further down the charts of reported crime than most London boroughs. So I just want to say that why that wouldn't work, but I get your point. It's hugely frustrating losing our local bodies. It really is frustrating, but we understand why it happens.